Counselor here in Studio One. Kellyanne Conway, welcome.
Thank you, Hallie.
The president criticized CNN and NBC in Poland, standing next to the Polish leader. In response to a question, yes, but there was a lot of hand-wringing in the press that it was bad for him to do that on foreign soil.
The president also said that he would like to have an honest media, a fair media, a free media, a beautiful media. He used all of those adjectives, and I would hope each of us can agree. He's been treated very unfairly. He's been treated very dishonestly, not by all media, not even by most media, I would say. And you know how I've been paying close attention to print reporters, to networks, to cable stations. There are a few journalists out there who have really done a great job trying to get to know this president and his administration, his cabinet, his senior staff. And I think those folks are still doing what traditional journalism has always done, which is they're trying to get the story. Others are trying to just get the president. Look at their screaming headlines. Look at the lower third, the chyrons, and what they say. And I think the media spend too much time talking about themselves and covering issues they think are important to them or that they want the American public to focus on, rather than what the Americans are telling the journalists, including in the media's own polling, is important to Americans.
Media self-absorption, let me take a second to process that. But after this presser in Warsaw, CNN's Jim Acosta said that because the president took the question about CNN from a friendly reporter, David Martosko of the Daily Mail, that he branded it a fake news conference.
Well, that's terrible. I think it's terrible to say that about a president on foreign soil, to go back to your previous question. But look, CNN's had a very bad couple of weeks. That's by any objective standard, that would be true. And that particular reporter also used the term fake news this week and had to I think, backtrack on his claim that 17 different agencies had come to a conclusion where it's 3 or 4. The New York Times made a similar retraction.
So
none of this is helpful.
About Russia involvement in the
That's correct. So the upshot of this is none of this is helpful to whom? To the viewers. Why? Because the viewers are Americans who need to know what's actually happening in this administration. And the media, if they're not going to, some of the media are not going to acknowledge their responsibility to be fair and honest about this presidency, they should at least acknowledge their role. Their role is to be the connective tissue between information and the people who deserve to hear it. So if you are one of these outlets and you are not, through print or through TV media and radio, you are not connecting veterans with information about their new 24/7 hotline at the White House, or the fact that this president in the first couple of months on the job has made it easier for a veteran to access private care if he or she cannot find quality, timely care through the VA. This president has signed into law the Accountability and Whistleblower Protection Act. This president has made it easier for a veteran to access a care, but also access information.
But on this question of media focus, and the president has every right to hit back at his critics in the media, but when he posts a video showing him tackling at a wrestling ring a CNN blockhead guy, how doesn't that also take the focus off of the substantive agenda?
Howie, we know from the statistics that if the media weren't covering that video and that tweet, they'd be covering Russia. How do we know that? Oh, because there was a report done very recently by the Center for Media Research and with the Media Research Center, and what they showed is that the networks between May 17th and June 20th spent 353 minutes on Russia. That is 70 times the amount of minutes they spent on jobs in the economy. They spent 5 minutes on that. They spent 1 minute on tax reform. They spent 17 minutes on Obamacare's failures. These are the issues of the day. What do you think is going to affect Americans? The fact that there have been 220,000 stories about Russia with absolutely no connection to this president, or 220,000 jobs created in June? I'm going with jobs.
Point taken. But when the president does the wrestling video, when the president tweets about Mika Brzezinski and her looks, he knows it's going to cause an explosion because the media love to cover this kind of stuff. And you can say he's counterpunching, and that's fine. But isn't he doing what you're accusing the media of doing, which is distracting from the things that Americans really care about?
No, because look at everything he's doing. That's all they're doing. What is he doing every single day? He is helping people. 800,000 private sector jobs created since he got on the job. The stock market loves his presidency. The economy, the stock market is up. ISIS is on the run. You've got unemployment. I just read the report. Unemployment among teenagers and African Americans is down for the first time in quite a while. You've got home builder confidence, manufacturing confidence. Where are the stories. Why aren't the media out there telling America that the Senate bill, the House bill, the president's views on health care are important? Because 19 of the 23 Obamacare co-ops have failed. 83 insurers have pulled out of the Obamacare exchanges.
Healthcare has gotten a lot of coverage.
It got 17 minutes. It got 17 minutes in 5 weeks on the networks. Russia got 353 minutes. This is incontrovertible.
Now, CNN President Jeff Zucker telling the New York Times he's trying to bully us, and we're not going to let him intimidate us.
He said nobody's trying to bully. I mean, they've had to fire. They had to fire 3 reporters. One had worked with the New York Times for 15 years. I didn't even know he'd gone over to CNN until I read his name as somebody who had been fired for going with a story that many journalists have admitted to me privately was very thinly sourced and was shockingly inadequate by any objective journalistic standards. But do we have objective standards anymore for some, for all? Howie, I mean, you read the New York Times article during the campaign that Donald Trump just compels responsible reporters to suspend these objective standards. That would be a terrible precedent to set.
I disagree with that. That was a media columnist.
Well, you've got his opinion, but I think that many have followed suit. You've had the AP, Washington Post, New York Times, and CNN had to retract or correct stories. And the reason that everybody makes mistakes, right? They tend to gnaw on those bones longer about people than elsewise, but everybody makes mistakes, but it's just a rush for judgment. It's that we're going to go with a single source. We'll go with anonymous sources and single sources because we want to be first, we don't want to be right, and we want to try to diminish what this president is trying to do for Americans. I tell you who notices: Americans. Okay. They see what he's doing for them.
If these media outlets and the commentators are trying to diminish the president, as you say, is that because